Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We are back here talking Shedeur Sanders in today's video. I wanted to clear some of my comments up because I really genuinely believe Shedeur Sanders is a franchise quarterback. I just don't know if he's the Cleveland Browns franchise quarterback. And the concern I have here is Dillon Gabriel, and it has nothing to do with Dillon Gabriel, right? I think he was a little bit overdrafted. I think Shedeur Sanders was way underdrafted. I think he should have been the number 2 overall pick to Cleveland in the beginning, but they get him in the 5th round. And so the reason that Dillon Gabriel's my concern is only because I think Shedeur Sanders is the franchise guy, and I think he fits Cleveland so perfectly. I think he fits this team so unbelievably perfectly. This is crazy. I think he could be the LeBron James of the Cleveland Browns. I know, Shedeur's not from Cleveland, and honestly, Browns fans probably really hate that I even uttered that sentence. But my point is, Shedeur Sanders is special. And my concern is, Joe Flacco is probably the projected starter, and Kenny Pickett. And they drafted Dillon Gabriel at pick number 92. You don't cut guys or trade guys that you took in the top 100 in their rookie season ever. So Dillon Gabriel's 100,000% making the roster, as he should. Kenny Pickett and Shedeur Sanders, the rumor mill right now is those guys are going to be competing for the 3rd spot in that room. I really genuinely still believe Shedeur Sanders will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in week 1. Now, what I found really interesting was a Browns reporter who was present at minicamp was asked between the two quarterbacks who was better, and he said that it's not close, and the answer is Shedeur Sanders. And so, like I said, I think Dillon Gabriel was slightly overdrafted. I don't really think he should have gone in the top 100. I think he's a little bit small. Typically, smaller guys don't do the best at the quarterback position in the big leagues. But Shedeur Sanders, he's over 6 foot. He's got phenomenal size. He's got phenomenal athleticism. And what's crazy to me is his story. And so, we hear all this stuff is everyone's talking about Shedeur. Everyone's talking about Shedeur. No one's talking about Cam Ward. No one's talking about Dillon Gabriel. And it's like, that's because if Cam Ward got drafted in the 5th round, we'd be talking about that nonstop because something clearly went wrong. Like, there was clearly something deeper in the lines. And so in our last Browns video, I was comparing it to the Tim Tebow situation, saying everyone's comparing him as a media distraction to Tim Tebow, when in all reality, it's actually a positive. Because first off, these throws you're seeing on the screen right now, I guess maybe that last one was more Tim Tebow-esque, but this is just rookie minicamp. Tim Tebow can't make throws like this. All right, Tim Tebow was never known as a down-the-field passer. He was never known as, like, more than a game manager at the quarterback position. Shedeur has specialness to him. He turned around Jackson State and HBCU despite 58 sacks in 2 years. If it wasn't for Shedeur Sanders and his father, you wouldn't really know Jackson State. All right, so he goes to Colorado. Now, my lifetime, Colorado's been a horrible college football team. I know that was, not the case, 30, 40 years ago, whenever it was. But he turned the Sanders, whether it was Dion, whether it was Shedeur, whether it was Travis Hunter, because reality, it was all 3 of them. They changed the University of Colorado. They changed the Colorado Boulder football program for at least the foreseeable future. Right, so we're going to get into Dillon Gabriel in just 1 second here, but he, RG3 said it. He never blinked. He had an incredible touchdown to interception ratio. He is everything you want in a leader, and people were worried about his cockiness. We haven't seen that in Cleveland. So it's like he was drafted that late because of being a media distraction. And, my whole rant a couple of days ago was the media is the one that's making this into a big thing. And I get that I'm a part of that, but this is a big thing to me because Shedeur Sanders should be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, or he should at least be quarterback 2 for the first half of the season while Mr. Joe Flacco gets the job done and shows him the ropes, right? So let's get into Dillon Gabriel because I don't want to be disrespectful. I just think truly Shedeur Sanders is a much better quarterback for this team. All right, like I said, here is just some highlights from Dillon Gabriel from minicamp this past weekend. Now, he does throw a nice football. He's got a very nice arm, all right? But you can, I'll even rewind this. Do you see him and Shedeur Sanders? Look at this. Maybe that's not the best angle because Shedeur's in front of him, but Dillon's a really small quarterback, all right? And My concerns is his size. My concern is his size in the National Football League. And so, like I said, it really sucks because I don't want it to be a Dylan versus Shedeur thing, but it is. It has to be a Dylan versus Shedeur thing. So I know some people are saying send Shedeur to New Orleans because Derek Carr just retired. Look at that throw. Dylan Gabriel's got a nice arm on him. But what I'm saying is Shedeur's my dude. All right. So like I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Dylan Gabriel because he did a phenomenal job at the University of Oregon. It's just measurement-wise, I do think Shedeur Sanders was the better prospect, is the better prospect, and if Dylan Gabriel's a third-round QB, you can't sit here and actually tell me Shedeur Sanders is a fifth-round guy. I just don't understand it. And Will Howard, same type of thing. Will Howard went in the sixth round. You go back at even Cleveland Brown, a backup quarterback right now, Kenny Pickett, if you go back, you watch his college film at Pitt, he threw like 40 touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions in his fifth year at Pittsburgh. You look at his arm size, you look at his hand size, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out that maybe this isn't the best fit. Kenny Pickett's hands are extremely small. Dylan Gabriel's a little bit too small as well. These things unfortunately do matter. Now, you can be an undersized QB in the NFL and make it work, especially if you're athletic like Dylan Gabriel is. Kyler Murray obviously comes to my mind right away. Kyler's unfortunately dealt with a bunch of injuries since he's gotten into the league, but I'm not saying Dylan's size is the reason he's not going to work out for Cleveland or he's not going to work out in the NFL. I just think Shedeur was way more polished, and it does and still does not sit right to me that Dylan Gabriel went at 92 and Shedeur went in the hundreds. All right, so like I said, not trying it to be this huge battle or this huge media war or anything like it. And I keep saying this, the cream always rises to the top. I understand how difficult of a situation it is for Shedeur to just keep it a buck with you right now, make this roster. Like, just keeping it a buck with you, because like I said, you don't keep 4 QBs on your team, and they're not going to get rid of Joe Flacco. They're not cutting, waiving, trading Dylan Gabriel in any way, shape, or form. So that's 2 QBs. So it's going to be Kenny Pickett or Shedeur Sanders. Now, the way I see it is Kenny is not an NFL starter QB, but he is a solid backup just in case. He's got a bunch of experience. If you need him for 2 to 3 games, I feel decent enough with Kenny Pickett being my backup. So hopefully Shedeur beats Kenny Pickett out easily, and you can go with your 2 rookies, and then your veteran backup will just be Joe Flacco. So let's get into Mason Graham real quick, or maybe even Carson, because I like the Browns roster a lot, and I know these 2 rookies, the 2 quarterbacks are all we're talking about, but they've also had a really nice draft. All right, this is a look at linebacker. New Browns linebacker Carson Schweissinger at rookie minicamp. Now, his most notable play of rookie minicamp was his pick 6 on Dylan Gabriel. What we saw there was his speed. Big thing with linebackers is how they're coached. And I think Carson is one of these guys snagged in the Cleveland Browns draft class where, defensively, like the main guys who are getting all the Browns media attention right now, Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. And then right behind him is number 5 overall pick, Mason. Here's his pick 6, Mason Graham. Look at that. Look how he's moving. He's moving really good. He kind of actually looks like a running back to me. The Browns had a really solid defensive draft. And so the Browns aren't a perfect team. I've got some concerns, some wariness with their offensive line. But, Rome wasn't built in a day. And just kind of my point with Shedeur, Dylan Gabriel, Carson, Mason, all of these guys they drafted. I really like that running back out of Tennessee as well. All these guys that they drafted are good prospects. They're all good prospects, and they're going to help this Browns team out no matter what their role is this upcoming season. So that's it for me. I really just wanted to rant about Shedeur and Dylan. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button, hit that sub button if you haven't already. We're posting, semi-daily Browns content right now. So let me know your thoughts on that quarterback battle, and we will see you in a few days. Peace.